The morning I found out my own son's wife had tried to steal my home, I didn't cry, I documented everything. When the federal agent called asking about benefits tied to my address, I already had every receipt lined up. Instead of falling apart, I made the law my ally. And trust me, that call was only the beginning. Before I begin the story, tell me, where are you listening from today? Rain slicked the pavement as I stepped into the community center, the scent of lemon cleaner and burnt coffee mixing in the air. I smoothed the front of my good church coat and smiled at the "Congratulations, Miss Delacour" banner, drooping above a table covered in plastic wrap. The yellow bulbs overhead hummed faintly, buzzing like old gossip. Folks hugged me with that polite space office people keep, warm but cautious, as if I might turn to dust the moment they let go. I took my usual seat and left the one beside me empty, same as I had every event since my husband passed. That empty chair was my quiet rebellion, my promise that he was still part of every room I entered. The cake said, "Happy Retirement Aura May" in lopsided blue frosting, 35 years teaching English, and the word retirement was spelled wrong. I chuckled softly, but my hands ached from clapping for others. The speeches came and went like rain showers, short, forgettable. A young admin stumbled through a few lines, then nearly forgot to hand me my plaque. Someone shouted, "You'll finally get to rest, huh?" And the laughter came too easily. I smiled, because women like me are taught to smile when something stings. I watched them move around my empty chair, whispering, assuming I'd saved it for someone late. They didn't know it was for someone who never would be on time again. "You did good, ma'am," an old principal told me before praising a young teacher as the future. I nodded, tasting metal behind my tongue. I cut my own slice of cake and served it to the next table out of habit. No one stopped me. No one ever does. By the time the hall emptied, the rain had settled to a soft mist. I found myself at a diner with my son, Tanner, and his wife, Callista. The waitress poured coffee till it nearly spilled over. Callista's voice had that careful brightness people use when they're about to say something self-serving. "Portland's getting expensive," she began. "It might be smart if we all consolidate, streamline things." I stirred my coffee slowly. "A plan's fine," I said, "but my name stays my name." Tanner cleared his throat. "Mom, we're just trying to help. I can handle your online stuff now. You've earned a break." Callista smiled at him like a mother teaching a child how to lie politely. I paid for dinner in cash before the check even hit the table. "I can still pick up my own tab," I said. She didn't argue, but her eyes narrowed like she was measuring me for something. Driving home, the streetlights blurred through the drizzle. That empty seat in the hall lingered in my mind. Every bit of space I'd ever made for others who forgot I was there. My husband used to call me the anchor. Tonight, I felt like a buoy, visible but drifting. At the mailbox, a stack of flyers waited, church raffle, grocery coupons, and one white envelope stamped with the mortgage company's logo. "Funny," I muttered. "I haven't asked them for anything." Inside was a notice. An application for a home equity line of credit in my name. My pulse slowed instead of quickened, shock but steady. I called the number, navigated the robotic maze until a tired-sounding rep confirmed it. An online inquiry from Portland. My information partially filled in, flagged for mismatch. I thanked him, requested a fraud alert, and wrote everything down: date, time, rep ID, even the hold music title. Teacher's document, it's how we survive. At home, I brewed chamomile tea and sat across from my husband's photo. "Baby," I said quietly. "I'm not about to be managed." I opened a notebook, listed every account, circled the words "Freedom Fund" twice. Then I searched listings for small cabins in Central Oregon, places where the only sound was wind through pines. The screen glowed soft gold against the dark window. My phone buzzed. A text from Callista. "Let Tanner handle your accounts. It's easier this way." I set the phone face down and whispered, "Easier for who?" Outside, rain brushed the eaves like fingertips. I locked the door twice, finished my tea, and clicked on a listing in a town called Ashwood. The page froze, loading, thinking. So was I. I left Portland before sunrise, the sky still holding that deep gray that belongs to tired cities. My thermos sat in the cup holder, steam fogging the windshield as the radio whispered old gospel. The Freedom folder rode shotgun, seatbelt fastened like a travel companion. Every few miles, I repeated quiet vows under my breath. My name stays my name. My peace stays my peace. The road curved through mist and pine, and I felt the weight of decades start to peel off. One exit at a time, at a Chevron stop, I topped off air in the tires, grabbed a pack of peanut butter crackers, and counted quarters for a toll that no longer existed. I hummed a tune from church, "Keep me, Lord," while I crossed, and thought maybe I was doing just that. By noon, the land stretched open, green and raw. I met the realtor, a woman named Brenda, in a gravel turnout near the forest edge. She was practical, flannel shirt, steady handshake, clipboard covered in rain spots. The cottage stood back from the road, cedar siding darkened by drizzle, porch sagging like a tired smile. The smell of pine and damp earth hit me the moment I stepped out. Inside, the air carried traces of smoke and lemon oil. The windows were dusty but honest, letting in the gray light like an old friend. Brenda ran through details. Well depth, snowplow schedule, septic maintenance. I nodded, asked for copies. My eyes lingered on the kitchen window view, a stand of firs, and beyond them, the faint glint of a creek. "This house doesn't talk over me," I murmured. Brenda didn't ask what I meant. She just smiled like someone who's seen women start over before. When she left, I stayed. I stepped onto the back porch, where the boards groaned softly, welcoming me. The forest was thick but not menacing, the kind of quiet that listens. I sat in an old rocking chair left behind and let it creak beneath me, each sway loosening, something knotted inside. "We made it, baby," I whispered, looking toward the hills. "Took the long way around, but we made it." For the first time in months, I breathed without bracing. I pulled out my phone, called the title office, and set my deposit. The signal wavered, and I smiled. Not every call deserves to go through. By evening, I'd opened a new account at the local bank. The young teller asked if it was joint. I told her, "No, ma'am, just me." I signed every line slow and deliberate, printed receipts for my folder, then bought a locking mailbox at the hardware store. Dignity lives in details. I found a used rocker at a thrift shop. The clerk said, "It's seen some stories," I told him. "It's about to hear mine." At the motel that night, the clerk handed me a box forwarded from Portland. My quilt, hand-stitched last winter, sat inside. Label marked, refused. I didn't cry. I folded it back neat, slid it into the truck. "You don't beg for welcome," my husband used to say. I texted Tanner, "When you're ready to talk like kin, I'm here." Then I labeled a new folder, House, Respect. Next morning, I bought groceries and a doormat that read, "Come right." I swept the porch even though no one was coming. "You may be alone," I wrote on a sticky note and tucked it in a cabinet, "but you are not abandoned." At dusk, my phone rang. Callista's voice came sharp, polished. "My parents are moving in with you. It's practical. If you don't like it, come back to the city." I looked at the trees, steady and tall, and said, "I hear you." She went on about efficiency, health, help. I asked, "Did Tanner sign my name on anything?" She dodged. I ended the call calm as stone. Then I texted both of them. "No one moves anywhere without my consent." That night, I sat under the weak motel lamp, rocking slow. The heater clattered like distant thunder. My phone lit with Tanner's message. "Mom, Callista's just trying to help." I replied. Help starts with a question, not a key. I turned the lamp off and laid the quilt over my lap. At 6:07 the next morning, my phone buzzed again. Callista. This time just 3 words. Change of plans. At 6 in the morning. My phone lit up like a flare in the dark motel room. The message from Callista, change of plans, still sat there, cold and smug. I called back right away. She answered on speaker, voice crisp as an email. "We've decided Sterling and Muriel will move in with you this week. It's the most efficient solution." I stared at the ceiling and asked, "Who's we?" "Callista?" She didn't flinch. "Family," she said, like the word itself gave her authority. I kept my tone measured. "Family asks. Managers assign." Tanner's voice cut in, quiet, tired. "Mom, it's just for a couple of months," I said softly. "No one moves into a house I pay for without a key I hand them." Then I ended the call and sat in silence, the kind that teaches you how steady your own pulse really is. By the time the inspector showed up at my cottage, I'd already walked the perimeter twice. He checked the gutters while I tested the locks. I texted Tanner, "Lines crossed are hard to uncross. Don't put your wife between us." His reply came fast. "Callista's handling logistics. Don't stress." I looked at that word, logistics, like it was a stain. I answered, "Logistics without consent is trespass with paperwork." Then I hung a small bell on the back door, a cheap chime that would sing the moment anyone tried to enter. When you're older, security doesn't come from strength. It comes from foresight. I logged the morning's call in my notebook. Date, time, words spoken. I've learned people respect records more than memory. By noon, I decided to end the guessing. I called Callista again, calm as stone. "I will not host your parents," I said. "If they arrive, they'll be turned around." Her tone sharpened. "If you don't like it, come back to the city." I repeated it slowly, like dictation. "You said, if you don't like it, come back to the city." "Thank you. I've written it down." Silence. I prayed under my breath, "Lord, let my no be a full sentence." Then I went to buy batteries for my motion cameras. Around 4, a long white RV turned into my drive. Dust rolled behind it like smoke. Sterling and Muriel Vane stepped out, city shoes, fur-lined coats, and entitlement packed tight as luggage. Sterling knocked once, then tried the handle. The bell jingled. I opened the door just enough to fill the frame. "Porch is as far as you go." Muriel peered past me. "We'll need the bedroom with the window." I smiled politely. "You'll need a reservation." "You don't have one." Sterling puffed his chest. "Family obligation, ma'am." I lifted my hand, palm against the wood. "Obligation requires agreement." I pointed to the small camera above the door. "That light means you're on record. Consider this your notice." They set boxes on the porch like staking land. I nudged each one back with my foot. "Porch isn't storage," I said, Sterling muttered. "Callista said you were fragile." I met his eyes. "Callista is misinformed." Muriel sighed dramatically. "We sold our condo for this." I shrugged. "Then you'd better find a realtor fast." I snapped photos, license plate, timestamp, boxes. Each click, another line drawn. I handed Sterling a small card I'd printed the night before. "Guests by invitation only. Violators will be reported." He laughed. The sound fell flat. When they decided to sit down, I let the timer ring for 15 minutes before calling the sheriff's non-emergency line. "I'd like a wellness check," I said plainly, "on myself." A deputy came, calm and kind. He asked them to move along. I thanked him with a bottle of water and a copy of my card. The RV backed out, spitting gravel like a tantrum. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. "Callista. You made a mistake. Check your email." I opened my inbox. Tanner's name. Subject line, temporary property management. Signed. I exhaled once. Slow and clean. Then I opened my folder labeled House, Boundaries, and turned to a fresh page. The PDF loaded, and there it was. My own name. Sitting on a line I'd never signed. The email subject glared at me. Temporary property management, signed. My hands stilled on the keyboard. There it was. My name printed in perfect digital font, neat as a stranger's handwriting, sitting under a signature line I'd never touched. I zoomed in. The signature wasn't ink. It was an e-stamp. I read the fine print twice. Authorization for managing utilities and entry. Not ownership, but a foothold if I let it slide. I called the title company right from the porch. My voice stayed steady. "I need the audit trail, IP logs and timestamps for a document labeled under my property." I asked them to put a hold flag on any changes. Then I took a yellow legal pad and wrote every detail. Date, domain, attachment hash. Paper remembers what people forget. I printed the file and tucked it into a folder labeled Paper. attempts standing on my porch. I said to the pines, doors open by paper, closed by paper. I called Tanner first. Son, did you sign anything about my house? He hesitated. It's just temporary. Mom, Callista said it'd help. Temporary, I repeated. That word has a way of staying. Then I called Callista. She was all Polish and cheer. Standard procedure, Miss Delacour, efficiency. We assumed consent. Consent is not a rumor, I told her. Entry to my home is by invitation only. She tried her usual script. Safety checks. Support system. Managing medication? I cut her off. I manage me. I ended both calls with the same line. Slow and cold. Put everything in writing. Your words keep changing. I drove to town before sunset. At the bank, I added a verbal password. Gospel Oak. The teller nodded. Good choice, ma'am. I turned off paperless billing for every utility. Asked for mailed statements. Paper's a trail no one can edit, I said, mostly to myself. At the post office, I sent a certified letter of revocation to every agency that might touch my property. Title, utilities, bank. I copied the sheriff's office. Back home, I printed a sign and taped it behind my glass door. No consent to entry, all visits recorded. Around noon the next day, a white van idled near my gate. 2 young men in polos stepped out, carrying toolboxes. We're here to install the smart lock. Ma'am. One said, per a work order. I smiled thin. No smart locks, no new keys. Not today. I asked for the order. Callista's name glared from the top. I turned on my phone camera, stating clearly, consent denied. They looked uneasy. Scribbled notes. Drove off slow. 10 minutes later, Sterling Vane's SUV appeared. He taped a paper to my porch. Guest house rules. I read them out loud. Quiet hours, shared spaces, master bedroom assignment. My camera blinked red as it caught every word. I peeled the page down with 2 fingers and slid it into an evidence sleeve. This porch has one rule, I said to the wind. Mine. By evening, I'd hired a local locksmith, older man, soft-spoken, no questions. We replaced both deadbolts. I kept the blanks myself. I added a hasp to the shed and a locking mailbox at the road. I painted my house number bold and clean, so no one could claim a delivery mistake. I mounted a second camera aimed at the driveway, tested the chime, sharp, perfect, before dinner. I uploaded every clip to cloud storage and sent copies to my neighbor. Then I filed an incident report online. No emotion, just facts and timestamps. As dusk fell, Callista called again, voice tight. You are not being reasonable, I answered. Reasonable is a door that locks and a paper trail that holds. She exhaled sharply. Fine, we'll do this another way. Click. Silence. I stood in my doorway, felt the house breathe with me. Let the paper carry what my voice won't, I whispered. Minutes later, my phone pinged. A county recorder alert. Filing received. Durable POA Callista Vane Corrigan submitter. My porch light buzzed overhead. The trail cam blinked. The forest went still as a held breath. I opened the attached PDF. My own name stared back from a shaky signature line I never signed. I woke before sunrise, the kind of quiet that lets you hear your own resolve. I made coffee, lined up folders across the kitchen table. Paper, attempts, house boundaries, guests invited only. Everything neat, labeled, undeniable. I laid out my driver's license, paid bills, inspection report, and a blank medication list. I called Nola Penn at the bank to confirm my verbal password. Gospel Oak. Still active, Miss Delacour, she said. Make sure no one discusses my accounts without me. Then I texted my attorney, Ellis Rayner, a photo of the forged POA. His reply came fast. Filing notice of contest today, stay steady. I checked my trail cams, confirmed uploads to cloud. As I washed my mug, I told myself, prepared isn't paranoid, it's grown folk. By mid-morning, 2 vehicles rolled up my drive, a white county sedan and a sheriff's cruiser. APS caseworker, calm and tidy, stepped out beside a young deputy. Good morning, ma'am, she said. We received a welfare concern. I smiled, 1 foot behind the threshold. Then let's make sure you leave reassured. Inside, the kitchen gleamed, fridge full, mail sorted, coffee brewing. You can sit right there, I said, nodding to the table of folders. She read her notes aloud. Reports of confusion, possible self-neglect. I handed her my bills, receipts, and a planner filled with neat handwriting. If confusion paid this mortgage, I said. It'd have company. The deputy checked the locks and new hardware while I produced the forged POA, the fake guest rules, and the lock work order. No commentary, just facts. They took copies, APS noted. No signs of neglect. Home safe. Subject-oriented, I added. And caffeinated. Then came the questions. Orientation, math, memory. Date and place. April 2nd, Ashwood, Oregon, I said, pouring coffee without a spill. You take cream? The caseworker smiled. I drew a clock face. Answered arithmetic. Signed my name in blue ink, my pen, my hand. That's what a real signature looks like, I said, steady. I showed her my revocation letters and sheriff's case number. The deputy asked about threats. I slid him a printed text from Callista. If you don't like it, come back to the city. APS nodded. We'll mark this visit as unfounded unless something changes. Something's always changing, I said, but not my mind. By lunch, Ellis called. We filed the fraudulent POA objection. You're covered. I put him on speaker as I filled out more certified mail forms. We drafted one last message to Tanner and Callista. Cease all filings. All communication via counsel at the UPS store. The clerk notarized my access revocation notice. Held up the stamp. That's a good blue. I sent copies to every office that might pretend to own a say in my life. At the hardware store. I picked a new doormat that read, Mind your business. The cashier laughed. Ma'am, that's bold. That's survival, I said. Afternoon brought the real storm. Phone buzzing nonstop, church ladies, neighbors, former co-workers. We heard you're not well. Callista said you're overwhelmed, I replied, calm as a sermon. APS came this morning. They found me competent and safe. Tell folks the truth's cheaper than gossip. A friend texted a screenshot, a social post claiming I was being exploited by strangers. I printed it, stapled the URL, filed under defamation. Pending. Even got a postcard in my mailbox. We're here to help you transition. No sender, no signature. I photographed it next to my wristwatch for the timestamp. Lies travel fast, but paper outruns rumor. I called Tanner last. Son, APS came. I'm fine. Forged papers moved today. You need to choose distance from this. He sighed. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Callista said it was just paperwork. Oi, I said. Softly. Thinking it's harmless doesn't make it harmless. Let counsel handle it. He whispered. I'll think about it. Thinking's fine, I said. Doing's better. I wrote the time in my notebook, 3:14 p.m., and poured tea for 2. 1 cup for memory. As dusk fell, my phone chimed. Filing rejected, power of attorney dispute recorded. I exhaled slow. Then another alert pinged from the trail cam, motion at the gate. Sterling and Muriel's RV eased back in, creeping like a bad idea that didn't learn. A second car followed, unfamiliar. 2 doors opened in sync, like a plan rehearsed. Callista's text arrived mid-morning, short and smug. Let's meet at Ashwood Roastery at 4 p.m. To clear the air professionally. She added Tanner, Sterling, and Muriel. I replied, Public is fine. I'll bring paper. No emojis, no warmth. I called Ellis Rayner to inform him. I can't attend, he said. But I'll send a letter confirming my counsel and a QR code for the POA dispute. I printed his note and tucked it into my tote with my labeled folders. Paper, attempts, defamation memo. Guests by invitation. I added trail cam photos and my notepad. Before leaving, I whispered a small prayer. Keep me civil and sharp. Then I parked nose out near the cafe's big window, old habits born of experience. I arrived 5 minutes early and chose a seat with my back to the wall and full view of the door. The barista nodded in recognition. I ordered plain coffee and tipped cash. Callista entered first, confident designer coat crisp. Binder marked care plan under her arm. Tanner followed, eyes down. Sterling and Muriel trailed in, unimpressed by the menu. I aligned my folders on the table, edges perfect. Ellis's letter sat on top like armor. Deputy Harrow stood in line for his drink. good eyes to have nearby. I smiled at the group. Coffee's on me. Let's keep this kind and clear. Callista started fast, flipping open her binder. Aura May, we just need to formalize the arrangement. You verbally agreed. No, I said, sliding Ellis's letter forward. All authority contested. Case numbers there. She tried another angle. This is about safety, shared space, routine checks. I placed 2 photos on the table, the fake guest house rules and the lockwork order. These are your safety measures? Sterling leaned in. Family owes family a place to stay. I met his stare. Family asks. Owners answer, Muriel murmured. We sold our condo for this. Then you bought the wrong plan, I said. I repeated Callista's earlier line so everyone could hear. If you don't like it, come back to the city. Tanner winced. I finished that round calmly. Consent isn't a committee vote. I opened a new folder and laid down the trail cam prints. Clear. Time-stamped. A black bear nosing my trash, elk in the side yard, coyotes near the mailbox. I added a state wildlife pamphlet warning about terrain hazards and ambulance delays. This is the forest you think your parents should live in, I said. No rails, steep steps, and ice half the year. It's solitude, not senior housing. Muriel's face drained of color. Deputy Harrow, still waiting for his coffee, spoke softly. That road ices fast. She's right. I closed the folder. If you loved your parents, you'd stop volunteering them for danger. Callista stiffened. This hostility isn't helping. I reached into another folder. Defamation memo. You started the hostility when you called the church, the neighbors, my colleagues. I placed the screenshots and postcard on the table. This is what concern looks like when it's weaponized. Tanner leaned back. Callista, did you post that? She didn't answer. Sterling scoffed. Thin skin. I sipped my coffee. Thick skin keeps warmth in. It doesn't excuse bad manners. I looked at my son. You choose now. Tanner. Your wife's version of care or your mother's right to breathe. Tanner rubbed his face. I signed the utility form because Callista said it was temporary. His voice cracked. I didn't read it. Reading is love, I said quietly. For yourself and for others. He turned to Callista. Did you file that POA? She went silent. Sterling muttered, We did what was necessary. Tanner's eyes dropped. Mom, what do you need right now? I answered cleanly. No entry, no filings, no lies. Written apologies to the 3 people you called about me. Callista snapped. We're done accommodating feelings. I nodded once. Then we proceed with facts. I opened my phone and airdropped 3 files. Ellis's letter, the forged PDF, and trail cam footage to Tanner. Deputy Harrow's phone pinged with the CC. Witness copies sent. Nake Kani, I said. The barista looked up when I asked her to witness a note of acknowledgement. She signed it willingly. I handed Callista a printed cease and desist form with space for her name. She slid it back. I marked refused and filed it in paper attempts. Standing. I left 2 5s for coffee. I'm going home. Don't follow me. As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed. It was Nola Penn from the bank. Miss Delacour. Someone tried adding themselves as co-signer to your cottage account. We blocked it with your code word. Gospel Oak. I turned toward the cafe window. Callista was already on her phone. Face tight. I smiled faintly to myself and whispered, They just picked the wrong ledger to steal from. I woke before sunrise again. That quiet hour where truth feels loud. On my yellow pad, I wrote 2 columns. What changed and what holds. Under holds, I listed. Locks intact. Cam synced. Bank password Gospel Oak. Working just fine. Changed read. Callista exposed. Tanner halfway back to himself. I replayed the cafe recording on low, timestamping Callista's lines and Sterling's muttered, Family owes family. Each word went into the defamation memo. I called Ellis Rayner, who confirmed the POA dispute was active and he'd file an affidavit about e-sign abuse. I walked the tree line with my thermos, snapping photos of fresh elk tracks. The forest didn't know drama. It just held its line. I texted Deputy Harrow a thank you. His reply came quick. Document everything. You're doing it right. I swept the porch, replaced the mat, and told myself peace wasn't passive. It was maintenance. Mid-morning, certified mail arrived. Official rejection from the county recorder. Callista's POA submission denied. Authority unverified. I stapled the receipt to the notice. APS emailed next. Case closed. Subject demonstrates clear independent self-care. I printed 2 copies. One for Ellis, one for the binder. Nola Penn called from the bank. Attempted co-signer blocked. We flagged it. Miss Delacour. Notarized presence required from now on. Good, I said. Paper protects. Ellis emailed a draft cease and desist for defamation. I edited it into plain talk a jury could read without blinking. I prepped a victim identification statement, attached screenshots of the fake guest house rules and locksmith tickets. My printer hummed like order returning. When I slid those pages into a binder labeled Snapback, April, I could feel my heartbeat sinking with the click of the rings. By afternoon, the phone started ringing, but softer now. Pastor Darlene called, voice warm. Ora May, I saw the posts. That wasn't right. I told her the truth. Mentioned APS's findings. She said she'd handle the rumor tree herself. Neighbor Ruth came by with zucchini bread. Heard some talk. Figured you'd need something homemade, not headlines. We laughed on the porch till the kettle whistled. A choir friend texted an apology, and I replied, we're all better with receipts. Adding a photo of the APS letter, I started a public turning log, names, dates, what they'd believed, and what changed. Not revenge, just measurement. Every conversation ended with a new phrase I'd started saying, ask twice, trust once. Folks began repeating it back. Tanner called next. Mom, can we talk? We met at the park, sat under the flag, his first words, I'm sorry. No rehearsed tone, just raw. He admitted he'd signed that form without reading, that Callista had sold him on helping. She used care like a crowbar, he said. I nodded. Happens when people mistake control for kindness. I laid out what needed mending, written retractions to those he'd misled, a single text to Callista, all contact via counsel. He repeated a line I offered him. I made a mistake, and I'm correcting it. It sounded real by the 3rd try. Will you ever trust me with a key again? He asked. Trust, I said, is paper and time. Start with paper. We parted quietly. I logged the apology at 4:12 p.m. Habit turned healing. By midweek, truth started walking upright. Pastor Darlene posted a message. Verify before you share. Kindness without fact is still harm. No names, but everyone knew. The barista from the cafe DM'd me a photo of my timestamp note. If anyone asks, I'll vouch. Deputy Harrow told me. That report on you's been closed, marked malicious. I didn't ask who filed it. I already knew. 3 comments vanished from Callista's old post. People dislike being caught with the wrong receipts. A church acquaintance apologized and offered to help. I suggested she host a seniors talk on POA scams. Turn my story into a manual, I said. The phone stopped carrying pity, started carrying purpose. Callista didn't go quiet. She sent Tanner a flood of texts. You embarrassed me. They'll believe you because she's old. He forwarded them to Ellis per my rule. Then came an email to me. Let's be reasonable. I replied once. Short and formal with Ellis's contact. Then archived it in a folder named Boundary Violations. Sterling posted about family loyalty. Got 3 likes and 2 bless your heart comments. Muriel emailed. We just need a room. I filed it under no. I wasn't angry anymore. Just finished. Policy. Not emotion. That weekend, I started repairing the house itself. The volunteer fire crew came for a free safety check. They liked my laminated warnings and left me a window sticker. Elder Safe certified. I met a new neighbor while walking the trail. We traded numbers for mutual watch. Inside, I taped a 1-page house policy to my cabinet door. Private home. Invitation only. No exceptions. I moved my chair to catch the morning sun, sat 5 minutes without checking my cameras. Progress tastes like coffee cooling in peace. Late afternoon. I checked the mailbox. 3 envelopes addressed to Sterling and Muriel at my address. Social services, a credit union, and Social Security. I photographed each, front and back, mailbox number in frame. Fraud had a new form. I left Ellis a voicemail. Possible benefits using my address. Might need federal eyes. I slid the mail into sleeves beside my April binder. The pile looked like both proof and prophecy. I locked the door, switched off the porch light, and let the forest hush around me. Near midnight, my phone buzzed. Voicemail transcript, Denver number, this is regarding recent benefits activity tied to your address. I stared at the glowing dots. Calm, ready. Then I hit play. A man's voice began spelling my name like it was entering a ledger meant for federal ink. I sat at the kitchen table, the morning light sliding across my papers. The voicemail from AUSA James McKinnon played in its even federal tone. This concerns benefits activity tied to your address. I didn't flinch. I laid the 3 misaddressed envelopes, Social Security, State Services, and a credit union, into a neat grid. Front, back, postmark. My mailbox number in the corner. I checked my chain of custody sheet. Unopened, logged, time-stamped, a tut. I dialed the number. Clear and calm. This is Aura May Delacourt, born October 1953. Ashwood address. I'm competent and represented by counsel. McKinnon's voice was courteous but direct. He requested scanned copies and an affidavit confirming non-consent. I'll include trail cam clips, I said. They prove the Vanes don't live here. After hanging up, I texted Ellis Rayner. Federal call-in, opening folder S15. His reply came fast. Good. Stay factual. No emotion. Only dates. By noon, I had my evidence assembled like a lesson plan. 1 PDF, photos of the envelopes, certified mail receipts, APS letter, recorder rejection, and Nola Penn's note confirming the co-signer block. I added trail cam stills, Sterling's RV pulling out, Muriel's shadow in the passenger window, and attached the cafe witness note from the barista. The last page was an affidavit of non-consent signed in blue ink. I have never granted residency, mailbox access, or benefits address use to any third party. I emailed it to McKinnon's secure inbox, CC'd Ellis, blind CC'd myself. The reply came within the hour. Received. Will coordinate with state DSS and SSA. Keep all mail sealed. 2 days later, I met Ellis at the county annex. We filed an identity misuse report and a civil protective order. No contact, no approach. The judge reviewed the binder, smiled at my big print tabs, and said, Miss Delacourt, you're better organized than half this courthouse. She stamped the order. That sound carried weight. Callista, Sterling, and Muriel now risked arrest for one wrong step onto my gravel. Ellis filed the finalized cease and desist for defamation and left copies at the sheriff's office. In the parking lot, he said. You built a record a jury could love, I told him. Teachers teach. Tanner arrived at Ellis's office that same afternoon. Shoulders squared this time. He signed a sworn declaration admitting the mistake, confirming he'd spread false claims under Callista's influence. He handed me 3 apology letters, short, sincere. I made a mistake, I'm correcting it. I read one aloud. That'll do, I said softly. He asked, will we ever get back to normal? I smiled. Normal's earned. Coffee on Sunday. Public. Daylight. We hugged once. No tears. Just truth. Callista's final play came through email. Let's rewrite the narrative. We all misunderstood. Ellis answered for me. Retract publicly. Admit forged filings and misuse of address. Then we talk. By evening, she'd posted a vague elder hysteria message. I took a screenshot. Her allies quietly unliked it by nightfall. The next morning, the order was served at her workplace. Rumors stopped. Sterling left a voicemail I never returned. Muriel's email begged for just one room. I filed both under boundary violations and went on with my day. At Nola Penn's branch, I signed my restated living trust. The cottage and accounts now sat under trust protection with a conditional inheritance clause. Tanner inherits only if no partner claims or contests. Anyone proven to have forged, misused, or defamed is barred forever. Nola notarized it, smiling. Miss Delacourt, that's solid as bedrock. Paper over noise, I said. I recorded it at the courthouse. The clerk stamped the notice. Law beats gossip every time. By week's end, peace had a shape again. Pastor Darlene hosted the seniors' clinic on POA scams. I sat in the back while Deputy Harrow explained, document, Don't dramatize. Folks nodded like students who just learned fire burns. Ruth brought me pie. The barista dropped off a free muffin, and someone taped a note to my gate. Ask twice, trust once. It made me laugh out loud. That evening, an email from McKinnon arrived. Preliminary findings confirm misuse of your address. Referral to DSS and SSA for restitution review. Do not respond directly. Ellis forwarded it. They're on their own road now. I wrote in my journal, I kept my home without hating my blood. Tanner texted a photo of a blank key tag with one word, someday. I replied, earn it. The sun turned the pines bronze. I placed my binders, forest proof, no words in it, snapback, April, trust final in the cabinet, closed the door, and let silence claim the house. I set a second rocking chair on the porch, the one for invited company. I texted Tanner, Sunday coffee, 10 sharp, bring only yourself. Then I turned off the porch cam. Tonight, nothing needed recording. A coyote called in the distance. The forest stood, patient and whole. I whispered, this house stands. Inside, the kettle clicked on cue. My inbox pinged. Subject line, apology draft. I smiled and let it wait. Some balances, after all, aren't meant to be settled on paper.